All right. Welcome back. This is our 1 week. We've been doing the virtual demo series now. Hopefully you found it useful and informative and brought you some education as well during this time. We've gotten a lot of feedback that people are enjoying it. Some people have said that it's better than the 3rd season of Ozark on Netflix. So we're excited to hear that. We're doing the safer at home thing. All of us here at Rhino Tool House, we are an essential business, so we are open, but we're doing our distancing, and we're at home when we're not here, so a lot of our sales force is at home and interacting with you, our customers, so hopefully you're doing well and you're safe at home, and we'll get through this sooner than later. So one thing that I found that the safer at home's taught me is that I really miss bars, restaurants, and non-essential businesses. So I think we'd all agree that we want these things back open sooner than later. My name is Chip Paulsen. I'm the Executive Vice President at Rhino Tool House. This is Stefan Wirth, AKA Stefan Wirth, and he's an application engineer. You're on Zoom. You can ask questions, and please do. At the bottom, you can click on, and we've got a moderator, JP and Steve are running the show behind us here, and we'll get to your questions. So we'll do that. As I mentioned, we're doing the social distancing thing, but I want to make sure that you understand that we all need to not do social disconnecting. So we need to connect during this time, however that is, whether it's through Zoom, like we are today. I know a lot of you are doing Zooms with your families. We do Zooms with our team, and we connect every day, and we check in on each other, and we talk about things that we're doing for our families, things we're doing for ourselves, and things we're doing for our customers as well. So we want you to connect with us at this time. That's what this is for, and if you have ideas on other topics that you want us to cover, please reach out, whether it's in the questions or as an email afterwards. So yeah, one of our core values is work-life balance. We have 12 core values at Rhino Tool House, and what this made me realize is that I love the life balance, but I miss the work. So as I mentioned, hopefully we can get back to work with all of you rather quickly. A little bit about Rhino Tool House is we are a collection of distributors that formed in 2018. We were the biggest and the best distributors. We formed and came together in 2018, and we cover pretty much the entire United States. So anything that we're showing you here, whether it was today or previously, we can do and implement and support you at your plants, whether you're in Fargo, North Dakota, or if you're down in South Carolina some way. So normally we'd be doing these demos live. That's the beauty, is we loved coming to see you, get out on your plant floor, get in your conference rooms, and do these demos live. But this is the life that we're dealt with, or the cards that we're dealt with right now, and we're making the best of it. We've got 65 sales engineers throughout the country, and we've got 10 application engineers like Stefan. So today we're going to talk to you about Pivotware. This is process control. We've been a Pivotware distributor since 2013, and great product. It's a product that we went out and found, and we've got hundreds of installations. Think of it this way. When you go somewhere, when you're driving, how often do you pull out a paper map like we used to 15 years ago, 20 years ago? You never do it. But when we walk out on the plant floor, we still see a ton of paperwork instructions. A lot of times there's books, a lot of times there's pages that are missing, and you know, it's just an old way to do it. So what Pivotware does is it's essentially that GPS, right? So when we're traveling now, we punch the destination in our GPS, and it says, go this way, and it gives us the best route, and we don't even think about it. That's exactly what Pivotware does. It allows you as an engineer to put in the best roadmap and the directions to get to the final destination, and it allows your operators to just do it. So what do we got here? We got the Connect. We talked about that yesterday. So we had one on a virtual demo on the Connect. So we've got 20 tools. I can talk to that. We've got the EABS, which was the 2019 Assembly Magazine Tool of the Year. So that's talking to the Connect. The highlight of the show is Pivotware. So this is the infinity screen. This is what's going to drive the behavior of everything that's going on. And then we can also put in other devices. So we've got a Sturtevant Richmond Global 400, up to 16 different tools. We can do we've got a click wrench here, FM click wrench that's going to send a signal back. But we could also do digital torque wrenches. We could do battery torque tools. And we could all make this one big happy family that would take the operator through it. So I think I covered everything for the intro. I'm going to turn it over to Stefan, and he's going to talk more about this, and enjoy the show.
Hello. So like he had said, we're talking about Pivotware today. Pivot, PVT, it's for process, visualization, and traceability. And then ware for hardware and software. So when we talk about process control, we like to talk about the importance of process control. So you want to have a consistent product every single time out the door. You also want to be able to eliminate time for different types of training, and you want to be able to increase productivity. So with this, we have a no faults forward system, which allows any product being made to interlock into any type of device that you would like. And from there, if a mistake is made, we're able to catch it immediately instead of waiting for it to go from station to station down the line, because the farther down the line it goes, the more cost it takes to actually repair said problem. So being able to catch something on the fly and rectify it right there is a great benefit. So Infinity itself, or sorry, Pivotware, kind of think of that like Microsoft Office. So that's the whole product brand. And then it comes into 3 different options. So right here, we have an Infinity station, which comes in, you can get it with the panel PC here, or just the software platform alone. There's the configuration software called Fusion, which is very easy to use to the point where you do not have to be a controls engineer to interlock all of your different types of devices here, whether it be your I/O devices, your PIC lights, your tools, any sort of cameras, scanners, anything along those lines. And that's all done inside of Fusion. And then we have our traceability services. So that allows us to create reports on the server end, as well as talk from station to station to make sure that it was properly done at one station before it goes to the next station, and run local and network-wide reports. So essentially, full birth certificates of the product. Let's see here. As far as the traceability aspect goes with it, the beauty of it is being able to know who, what, when, where, and how. And so with being able to have all that information, if a product ever leaves and it comes back, you're able to scan that particular serial number, and you'll be able to trace down every individual bolt to who did it, when they did it, etc. So I'll go over what we have here itself. So we have our station. I've got our 2 tools. I've got a part sensor here. I have a button to advance the process. I've got a pick bin right here, pick light. Make sure that we pick the proper bolts and some of our parts. So probably be easiest to just run through the demo right here. The very first thing that the station tells me to do is to log in. So we want to know who we are. I have operator and supervisor on here. Usually you would put each individual person's name. You can mass import your entire list of operators and everything, so it's very quick and easy to do. So I log in as the operator, and I'm ready to begin my process. So it says scan the barcode to start the process. So I'll pick this up. I would scan the part, any sort of traveler. This also could be sent down from a higher level system, and that way we know what it is. So it could come into station, and after the first station, you might not even need to scan it, depending on how your line is set up. But this particular one, I'm going to scan it. And now what I just scanned up here, this is our model number. I'd place that up here. If I wanted to add in a unique serial number, that would go right here. I I'm actually able to filter our builds based off of what I'm scanning here. So it just says, welcome to Pivotware, a process control platform. So I'm gonna hit OK. So you can hit OK on the screen. But I also have a button to do that as well so that we don't have to walk back over to the screen every single time. So instead of eliminating those non-value added activities. So right here, it would say, it says place the part into the fixture. So at this point, I could interlock it where it would recognize that that was done based off my right here, or I use my button. Now it wants me to add a gasket. So as I'm doing this small engine build here, this is one of our more critical applications, doing the head for the engine on here. So we have to have our torque control and our traceability aspect. So now, as we put the head on, it wants me to grab the bolts and tighten those. So this right here is where we could have it recognize that I went into the bin and actually picked the bolts themselves. It wants me to hand tighten those. So as I'm doing this, sometimes we might have some sort of vision inspection system recognizing that the gasket was placed on correctly in the right orientation, that the head is properly aligned on there, that I'm putting the bolts in the proper sequence. You can also use, when we get to the torquing aspect, we can use positioning systems for that as well. So we could use it for a standard position encoder-based torque arm, or we can do it with one of the multiple wireless opportunities for tracing the tool, tip of the tool here. So I've done that. I'm going to advance, and at this point, so prior to this, the tool was not active. I could not run this tool. It was completely shut down. But now it's going to tell me bolt for bolt where to go on here, and the tool is active now. So the hotspots on here are just a reference, unless we are tying in some sort of positioning system. So I timed out there. And when we get an error, so I'm going to try to force a bad here. There we go. So I have allowed myself 2 opportunities to get this bolt right. So I could back it out and try it again. But if I happen to get an error again, now it completely locks out. The tool is no longer functional. So what I'd have to do here, because I'm just the operator, I would have to log in as a supervisor. And this is a feature on here. We could actually call a supervisor from a list of options on here that we could tie into I/O as well. You see the flashing bell that can go into a stack light or anything along those lines. However you want to do it, maybe a little buzzer tied into an add-on system somehow. So as a supervisor comes over, he logs in, and now you'll see both the operator and the supervisor are logged in. So we'll know that they're both logged in during this this error as it occurred. You also notice that these options down here for skipping a step, scrapping the cycle, or retrying the bolt itself have now I actually have access to them. So I hit retry, it enabled the tool again, and I'm able to run this bolt on. All right, now I got my good. I could watch him run a few more. And I could also log out at this point as well. As everything started to go well, you see that they're able to continue to move on here. Say, okay, it seems everything's going smoothly. So as a supervisor, you'd come and you would log off and let them continue on with their job without missing a step. I can continue on here, doing the cross bolt pattern here. Let's see here. And if you had any sort of issues with the bolts with our material call here, we could also do that as our option. Oh, got a bad and a good. Now every time we get any sort of torque result, it's going to be recorded. So all of the bads are going to be recorded, as well as all of the goods. So you'll notice in the report, I'll show you the report when this is done, and we'll be able to see, that we had a failure here, a failure there, and we just continued on. So I completed all the bolts on there. Now it wants me to verify the bolts with the click wrench. Like Chip had said, this is an RF click wrench with the limit switch inside of it. So as we go through to torque each one of these bolts, we get a good and a bad. So as you can also error proof with the click wrench. So if I were to over torque this, let's see, we got a bad there. So I allowed 3 retries with the click, but usually you'd probably want to back that out a little bit and try to click it again. So as we fly through, make sure everything's good. There. Now the assembly is completed. The step is on a timer here, or we could actually just hit the button to advance it to start back over. At this point, you're able to scan a new product. A new one would come into station. Now, on the screen itself, we're able to add in additional like PDF documents or step documents. So any sort of control document you might want, maybe emergency evacuation procedures, PPE kind of stuff, company information. I've seen that put in here, as well as just general information. So you can open it up, and it's a little viewer here. So you're just able to scroll through, put any sort of information you want in there. Able to add videos and GIFs. Now I'll log back in as a supervisor, and we'll take a look at the report. So right here, we can hit a report. This is a very similar report that we would have if you were running it from your computer, if the whole station was, if everything was networked. So this would just be one individual standalone station. However, you can just keep on building upon them. So you can do sub-assemblies, you can do the full assembly line, you can go line by line, it doesn't really matter, but you can start with just a single station here. So here's the last 10 that I had on here. So if I were to open it up, you can see that it was past completed. You can see the start and end time and the duration of the step. You can actually expand it, and you're able to see all the information here. My actual torque values as well. So you see my failures. All the individual information's all right inside of here. Now you're able to export. So we'll have our torque and angle, whether or not it was retried, whether or not we had to hit the max attempts. So if I just got one, since I allowed for 2 bads before it moved on, then it would just be a retry. But since I had hit 2, it says max attempts, and that meant it had to be unlocked. So that's still somewhat flagged in the report to know that there was an error in the process. However, it was rectified. You can take all of these and you can export it to a CSV with a flash drive. You can save all of your information however you'd like on it. So it's a quick way to grab a report. We also have on here our system diagnostics, so you're able to see all of your different types of devices that are connected at a glance, and you can see whether or not they are active. So I had taken a few tools off of here that are not part of this particular assembly. You can check your device logs, your communication logs, everything. So troubleshooting's right on the screen itself as well. Another very cool feature of it is the whole assembly build in the process is stored locally on here. So this is not connected to the network. It's a direct connection to here, between these devices, just Ethernet cable. But if the network goes down, it has all the information necessary to build without having to rely on the higher level system. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, I mean that's about it in an overview.
Any questions? Can you hear me? Am I back on? Yeah.
Is the button to advance the process a Desoutter option or something custom?
It's something custom. It's from, oh, I'm sorry. The button to advance the process is not a Desoutter option. It's separate, but we can supply these for it. All it is there's no battery in it. It uses the kinetic click to a receiver, and it translates it into a USB keyboard wedge.
Are there any advantages to utilizing Desoutter tools with Pivotware versus non-Desoutter tools?
Are there any advantages of using Desoutter tools versus non-Desoutter tools? At the moment, no. Pivotware is brand agnostic as far as communications to tools. I'm sure you'll be able to get more graphical type of things with trace data down the road, but at the moment, they're all the same. They're not going to take away functionality from different brands of tools for this to work properly.
Yeah, I think there are some accessories that would be an advantage.
Yeah.
Smart arms, things like that. But it will talk to any brand, and that's Sturtevant's non-Desoutter type product. Other brands of torque tools that will work with. Talks open protocol.
Can you incorporate a training video with Pivotware tied to the model number?
Can you incorporate a training video with Pivotware tied to the model number? I guess I'm not quite sure.
Could you do a training video for customers or for employees?
Oh, to add on to here.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yep, you can add a video.
Yeah, it's kind of like a first step, or you put them in front of the Pivotware to train them, and then they go out on the floor, something.
Yeah. So that step could be filtered. So you'd scan that in, and day one, and it shows you how to build. And then after that, you wouldn't have to watch that video every time.
Yeah.
Is there other capabilities to transfer data other than CSV?
Yes, you can run a report. You could do a PDF.
Repeat the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you say the question again?
Is there other capabilities to transfer data other than CSV?
Yeah, there are other options for transferring data other than CSV. Yes, we could do Excel, PDF, CSV. You could actually do as a JPEG image if you wanted it to. Everything, when it goes onto the network, it goes into a SQL database, which allows you to query it in multiple different ways. So you can actually customize it, and you could eliminate certain things from your report. Maybe turning on a light might not have any value of your overall birth certificate of the product, but it is a step in the process. So just because we turned on a light, that doesn't really need to be in the report. However, that we had acknowledged that light, that we picked something, that would be in the process.
If you're currently using Pinpoint, would this work alongside of it?
If you're currently using Pinpoint, would this work alongside Pinpoint?
Yes, I mean they are separate, but they would work alongside each other. I guess it depends on what you would want from one. If you wanted them to actually interact, that's a little different. They can interact, but there's a couple of things that this can do, such as Ethernet-based I/O, things like that, because it's not a server-based platform and it's actually local on the machine, it's quite a bit different than how Pinpoint handles everything. So Pinpoint is very network reliant, and this is not. So
Can serial numbers of parts or scanned parts be saved?
yes, everything is
Can
saved.
serial numbers of parts or scanned parts be saved?
Yes, yes, everything will be saved. We can even generate additional information to the serial number. So sometimes if you don't have a serial number, but you only have a model number, we've added maybe the Julian date to the model number so that we're able to create a unique identifier for it, the serial number. But everything that's done, everything that's scanned, any sort of input or export is saved and recorded.
Can multiple Pivotware stations simultaneously share a network single tool controller and tied wirelessly to multiple tools?
Long question. Can a single Pivotware station handle multiple controllers and tools? Is that the question?
Single controller.
Single tool controller and tied wirelessly to multiple.
Oh, okay. So the other way.
Yes.
Could connect, which can do 20 tools, talk to 20 separate Infinity stations. Is that the question? Okay.
Yeah. Yes, it can. These could actually just sit in a server room if you wanted. They don't even need to be on the factory floor because everything would be wireless. And because we're using different port numbers for communications to these, they're all running on separate channels. So you could have each individual tool on a different station all across the assembly line off of a single connect box.
Yeah, and there's a product called Site, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
where it would be your own. Well, I guess if you had Pivotware, you'd
Yeah.
have a HMI, but
Yeah.
if you didn't, you could even have a Site, which would give you torque results. Okay.
Can you create the work instructions offline and then upload them to the workstation?
Can you create the work instructions offline and then upload them to the workstation?
Yes, yes, you can do that. That's its main design. You would create everything offline, and then you can either push it over the network to it, or you could add it in with a flash drive. If you came over here and you plugged in a flash drive on the back and it had your new process files on here, you just hit a button and it would load it all up. You're good to go. If you didn't like how something turned out, you can hit the rollback process and it will bring it back to where it was before you did that.
Can you talk a little bit more about the SQL database and how results are transferred to it?
Can we talk more about the SQL database and how results are pushed to it? Okay.
Sure. Yep.
On the
So
server? Yep.
there's a database side, and you just run a script to create your tables, and then there's a service or application. Sometimes they're on separate servers. Sometimes you have an application server and a database server. Sometimes they're together. What happens is all the information from here stores onto a local folder, and then the service, if it has a live communication connection to it, it will pull it real time. If communication drops, then the service goes out and talks to each individual station and makes sure that it has the most up-to-date data. So all the data on here is stored onto a local folder, and that folder gets emptied by the service. And that service is a single communication to the SQL database. So the SQL database will hold both your process builds and everything that you configure inside of the Fusion software, as well as all of your collected data.
Next question, can you just buy the software?
Question is, can you just buy the software and not the hardware, not the Infinity? This is the Infinity. Fusion is the software.
Yep. So yes, you can buy just software for the Infinity side, and the Fusion is the configuration software, and that's already just software. So you can still get the full panel PC, or you can get it just the software option.
And then who does the program?
Question is, who does the programming?
Who does the programming? So at Rhino Tool House, we like to be able to train you as a customer on how to do it. We have the capability of doing all of the programming anywhere, but we also would like you to be kind of have the keys to the car, so that when you want to make a change, you're comfortable making that change, and you can do whatever you want. You can really grow with it because it's so customizable that once you start to play with it, once you know how to use it, you might end up using a lot more of the features than you would initially thought.
Is there a specific type of server that's needed?
Is there a specific type of server needed?
I believe the minimum is 2014 SQL. You can run SQL Express if you'd like. However, there are limitations for that, which are 5 connections to it, and I believe a 10 gigabyte database. But quite a few people are running just a SQL Express, and it works fine. Because each individual station doesn't have a direct connection to SQL, that kind of allows for SQL Express to work, because the only connections to the SQL database are the Fusion software when it's open and the service itself, because the stations talk to the service and the service talks to the database.
How is the system/programs backed up and restored?
How is the system and the program backed up and restored?
So it's backed up locally on the station itself. It's also backed up as offline process files inside of the Fusion software, and it's backed up inside of the SQL database.
If you're running more than one station, how do you keep track from station to station?
If you're running more than one station, how do you keep track of the products, I'm assuming, as they go through each station? Is that right? Okay.
So as they go from station to station, there are modules that are called, like one of them is called tracker, and that determines that everything was done right here, and it lets the following station know that they can move on. Sometimes you might have a non-key step kind of thing where you can build around an error. If you had to skip a step, yeah, they wanted to skip that step. Well, that step wasn't very important. So how you set up this tracker module would determine whether or not you'd want to move on and build around that, because you could come back to it later.
Yeah, or if you're missing parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all the questions. You feel like you passed the test with all?
Yeah, I hope so.
I think so. Great. Well, thank you again for joining us today. Tomorrow we've got GCI. So Joel Johnson from GCI is going to do it remotely. He's up in Bismarck, North Dakota. And he'll be showing us a smart arm demo with Adaptix. Really cool product. So tune in for that. And then after that, we've got another remote one with Extremity, which is a product. They make a lot of accessories for us. Really cool story about Extremity and how they started and what they're doing, not only in the artificial limb market, in the medical market, but also what they're doing for the industrial market. Excuse me. So tune in for that. And then after that, we've got GD Hoist with Matt Sparks, which will be right back here. We've got a remote one with Crane OMS, which is tool management. And then we're actually sending this live virtual demo series down to Concord, North Carolina, which is our other headquarters, main office. And they're going to take it over for a week. So you're going to see new faces from Rhino Tool House. You're going to learn about new products. And then from there, we're going to send it over to Louisville, where we've got an office. And they're going to take it for a week. And then from there, we're going to ship it up to Maple Grove, Minnesota, where we have another office. So you're going to see a lot of new faces, a lot of talent from Rhino Tool House that are here to help you. So remember, let's not social disconnect. Let's connect. Connect with your friends, your family, all of us. We will get through this together. And thank you so much for today. Appreciate it.